I wanted to thank everybody for being here. My name's Ashley Mott. I'm the GIS manager at Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. Hopefully everybody can see my screen here, but I appreciate everyone joining today. I realize this is a leap of faith. This is a new idea, a new group, and I hope that we all can develop this regional GIS data and technology group together, and then it can be a meaningful endeavor for all of us. And I know there's a lot of folks on this call that attend a lot of meetings, so I want to be respectful of your time. So I'm going to jump right into it. So, and just a caveat, this PowerPoint is just a framework for me to stay on track. There's just a few slides. So first, the agenda. I'm going to go into a little bit of why I think this group should exist. And we'll definitely get into later why you think this group should exist and what you think we could do with it. But after I do my little spiel, we'll go into introductions. And then University of Florida GeoPlan Center is going to do a presentation for us all today. And I thought they would be an excellent choice to present at our first meeting because they have an extensive data library that they create and maintain, and I think it's beneficial probably to everyone on this call. And after the presentation, we're going to get into kind of a big chunk of the meeting is the group goals discussion. And there's also a survey that I'm hoping we could work through together that's very short. And then quickly after that, we'll go into next steps. So just quickly, before I jump into my list, for those on the call that might not be super familiar with Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, we're one of 10 regional planning councils in the state of Florida. These are dictated by statute, and we're bounded by a 6-county geography that you see in the graphic on the left. We have 6 member counties, 23 member municipalities. Each of those member governments are represented by an elected official, and our board meets bi-monthly to address regional issues, and staff works on resiliency and environmental planning, emergency preparedness, disaster recovery, and economic development. And we're looking to grow our GIS program and provide more benefit to our member governments in that space. So that's kind of the big reason why we're here today, is to provide value to our members. And then this list is kind of the why of why I think we are here. And I'm really interested to hear why you all joined later on after the presentation. But firstly, I think that one of the main benefits of this group is that we could identify GIS data gaps in the region. I think that would be hugely beneficial to all of us, and maybe even down the road we can work to rectify some of those data gaps. I think also this group could be uniquely positioned to identify duplicative GIS efforts in the region, like data creation, so we're not all doing the same thing. Maybe we could collectively tackle those problems. Third, I think that we could facilitate some technical assistance opportunities. And I also think one of the really big carrots of this group is, say you're working on a project where you want to seek grant funding, and that project's outcomes might benefit the whole region or might be transferable to other jurisdictions. Then in your grant proposal, you could potentially leverage this group to make your case. I also want to create some GIS educational opportunities for our member government staff, and I'm working on one right now that I'm pretty excited about, and I'll talk about it more later on in this meeting. And then lastly, but probably most important, is I want to help connect local GIS staff with our regional, state, and federal agencies, and also with our higher education institutions. So I'm just looking at quite a lot of folks on the call. I don't think in the interest of time that we have, that it makes sense to go around the table and introduce, but I think when we get into the discussion, we'll start to see each other's faces and get into connecting. But for now, if you want to just drop your name, organization, and role in the Zoom chat, I think that will help everyone see who's on the call and see what connections we can start to make. Thank you for those that are dropping that into the chat. All right. So now, thank you, everyone. Oh, it's so cool to see everybody who's on the call. I only see like 3 squares with my PowerPoint, so thank you, everyone, for joining. Now I'm going to pass the mic to Crystal Goodison at University of Florida GeoPlan Center. And Crystal, I'm going to leave it to you to introduce yourself and your team further. But let me stop sharing now so you can share.
Great. Thanks, Ashley. I like that. Pass the mic. Good morning, everybody. Is my presentation showing, Ashley?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks. Good morning. I'm Crystal Goodison from the University of Florida Geoplan Center, and with me today is Kate Norris from the GeoPlan Center as well. Thanks, Ashley, for inviting us here today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the data and tools that we've got available that hopefully will be of help to your region. So quickly, I'm going to talk a little bit about the GeoPlan Center, talk a little bit about our tools, and a little bit about the data that we've got available at the center, and then give a little demo of the Florida Geographic Data Library and how to access and download data. So just to begin with, if you're not familiar with our center, we've been around since 1984. We're a geospatial research and teaching center in the School of Landscape Architecture and Urban Planning. And we're really just a bunch of data geeks that like to build data and develop tools to help inform better planning decisions in the state. Mostly in the transportation and the environmental space in the state. We also work with a lot of students, undergraduate and graduate level, and they're always looking for internship and job opportunities. So please send us your postings. So I want to start by talking about some of the long-term decision support tools that we've created at the center. And the reason why is because building these tools, as you all know, building any tool really relies on really good data. And as part of building the tools, we've had to build our own data to support the tools. And as an outgrowth of that, we're able to then share data with the rest of the state. So first, one of our long-standing projects is a partnership with the Florida Department of Transportation on a tool called the Environmental Screening Tool. This is really a web application that helps to screen the potential impacts to environmental and human resources from proposed transportation projects. So this supports environmental permitting for the DOT and helps to inform better transportation decisions. As part of this project, we run over 500 GIS analyses for proposed transportation projects so that we can identify what the potential impacts are going to be. And we've collected a lot of data for this, and we've learned a lot of lessons from this project. We've also worked a lot in the sea level rise coastal resiliency space, working for well over a decade, developing data and tools to support vulnerability assessments. And we've done quite a bit of technical training around the state to help inform those vulnerability assessments. We also have a longstanding project that's a multi-partner, multi-agency project to collect crash data and then develop a dashboard to help give real-time statistics on where the crashes are happening, what the variables are, so that they can then analyze and figure out how to better plan and get better safety outcomes on the roadways. And this one's called Signal 4 Analytics. So these three projects are some of our long-standing projects. We've got lots of other littler projects that we've done over the years, but these three projects have really, these three initiatives have really been our longest projects from which we've had to collect tons of data for. I'm going to turn it over to Kate, though, to talk more specifically about some of the data that has outcome from these projects.
Hi, everyone. Kate Norris with the GeoPlan Center. I've been here for over 20 years, and I also teach a GIS Level 2 class at UF. So we have this giant library of information that we have collected years and years worth of information from. We have over 500 current data layers in the Florida Geographic Data Library. We have a lot of active layers and we have a lot of downloads, but we also have a historic archive of the data we've collected that we have now made available to the public. And so we're going to talk more about FGDL, the data in it, and then how to access it now, because it's different than it used to be. And so we want to bring you up to speed on where you can find what you need. Next. So one of the big things that I've been doing since 2005 is collecting statewide property data from the Department of Revenue. And we've put this data together statewide for a very long time. We have made available to the public 2012 and on. I have an older 27 data set. It's coming soon. What we do is we collect this data. The Department of Transportation needs this information when they're doing roadway planning projects for different reasons. And so we're doing this for them for that, but also we go and we derive products from this. So we are making generalized land use data sets. We are making decades of actual year built data sets, city limits data sets, and this goes into creating a lot more data. And so there's a lot of information here, and we make it available on FGDL. We also have other projects that we need where we're collecting a lot of data. So our specialty is collecting huge amounts of data and trying to get it all to work together. We have a statewide future land use data set that has been created from hundreds of sources, both county and local municipality level sources that are put together to create a statewide future land use data set. There is more information available on this through the GeoPlan Center. Also, we also work with the Florida Building Commission. Every 3 years I work with them and we make the wind speed maps for the state of Florida. And then we work with the local county building officials to help them determine the best way to put into a working place these wind speeds. And so this is something that gets done. We provide support, and this is all funded by the Florida Building Commission. And if you're interested on this or other projects that we've done, on the GeoPlan website, there's a projects page, and you can learn more information about this and some of our other projects there. All right, we have a lot of data in FGDL, as I was saying. We've collected a lot of data. So we have other types of land use data available as well. We have the water management district data sets, and we have created statewide layers of this, but also going back historically, we just have them by the district. And so if you need to see land use changes over time in one place, I would say this is a great place to go get it. We also have asset data. So for DOT, we have to create social cultural data sets so they know what their impacts are. And then we go and we make these data sets available. So we have bridges, hospitals, parks. We have a lot of information. If you were to go to FGDL and you were to put into search GC and just search for GC, you're going to get a huge list of statewide asset data sets. And this would be schools or libraries, you know, huge amounts of data. We also have other data. We have SHPO data. So if you are working or starting to touch base with historic data sets, there's the state historic preservation data sets that are there. I put together for some of our other projects a statewide Tiger roads data set. So if you need a roads data set that has the names, it has some other things, we've also tried to make it so you can geocode from it. That's there. We also have hazard data sets. So yearly, I go and collect from FEMA the flood hazard data sets. And we use those in our projects as well, but we make those available to everyone through FGDL. So if that's something you're looking at, that has the 100 and 500 year floodplains. So a lot of valuable information in that data set. We also have census data. I am not the census person. At the end of this, we will show you a contacts page for GeoPlan where you can ask questions. And if you have a question on, say, census, and you go through that contacts page, you'll get connected to Sam and he'll be able to answer all of your census questions. We recently did, and I'm going to mention this because it's within your regional planning group, a project for Pinellas County. And that dealt with taking a lot of the SHPO data and a lot of local data, and we created a historic resource database that they now use when they are trying to evaluate where the historic resources are, what's vulnerable to sea level rise and to natural disasters. And so if this is something you're interested in, it's also available on our projects page, and I can talk further with anybody who needs more information on this.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate.
Yep.
I'm sorry I was jumping through slides. I think I'm having a little delay on my end. So I'm going to talk just for a couple minutes about how to find data through FGDL, since we just redid our site about a year ago. We've got a couple different ways to find data, and it's not totally intuitive. So I just want to give a quick run through. So one main way to access data through FGDL is through the FGDL Explorer, which is our map viewer. So you can view and download data through that. But that does not contain 100% of our library. Not everything has a map service associated with it. So the Explorer has about 400 plus data layers. But if you're looking for something that you don't find in the Explorer, go to the data catalog. This has over 500 data layers. This represents the most current versions of FGDL layers that either we've produced or that we've collected from other agencies. So, FGDL is really a collection of data from all over state, federal, different agencies. And so the current data catalog is the most current version of data. But we also, as Kate mentioned, have this archive data catalog, which contains older versions of data sets. So we've got almost 5,000 layers in there. So if you need to look back in time to see what a resource looked like 10 years ago, that would be the place to go. So I'm going to jump out of this real quick and jump over to FGDL and just show you briefly how to search and download. Okay. So this is the main FGDL site, fgdl.org. And here the FGDL Explorer is that map service, the map viewer that I had mentioned. And I'll just give this a quick little run through. Of course, our base map is not showing, so let's go ahead and change up the base map. So here, this layer loader is going to be the primary way to sort of access data. If you hit the browse, it'll sort of give you this data catalog, and this is organized by source. So you type on, if you click on GeoPlan Center, it's going to give you all the data sets that we're the data custodians for that we create. But there's also other, federal sources in here, state sources, water management districts, et cetera. And so you can kind of drill through here. Kate was talking about some of these SHPO layers, state historic structures and sites. And when you click through, it'll give you a description of the data set. And it'll also give you a way to download it. You can download the actual data, you can view the metadata, and you can also see the archive versions of this particular data set. And then you can add the layer to the map for this, I'm just going to go ahead and add these layers to the map just to give you a sense of what this looks like. I'll go ahead and turn on a few of these. These are grayed out because I need to zoom in to see these. And as I zoom in, then you can see these are enabled now. And there's a lot going on. But just to give you an idea, this is a fully powered map viewer. You can do an identify, get the attributes. You can also open up the table, the attribute table for these data layers. The attribute table will load just what's within the map view. So if you zoom in or out, then you'll need to refresh it to get that. A couple other things, if you are within here and you're like, what is this data layer? You can go to show layer info, and it's going to bring you back to that view before. It's going to show you, okay, what is this data set? Where is it from? Let me get the complete metadata if I click on this, and let me go ahead and download it from there. If you want to remove, layers, this is a full map service, so you'd have to remove the entire layer. But if your map gets a little too cluttered, you can remove it there. The search function is also great if you wanted to, search on any types of layers. So I searched on conservation, and here I'm getting some strategic habitat conservation areas. But the search function works quite well in here. I know I'm running out of time, so I'm briefly going to jump back over to the data catalog to just show you one thing. So here's the fgdl.org. We were just looking at that Explorer. Now the current data catalog is, again, just the most current data layers. The search functions in here are also really good. You can search all the text fields that are in the database. Whoops, not conservate. I meant to for some typing on the fly. So wanted to type in conservation, and it'll give me conservation related layers. Also, you can type within any of these fields. So if I know that I wanted FMLA, for example, this managed areas, then that'll bring that up. But from here, you can download it, you can get the metadata. It lets you know if there's a map surface available, and it gives you some dates associated there. I know I'm about out of time, Ashley. I know that we said we were going to do 15 minutes, so I'm gonna stop it there. That was a really brief and quick overview, but I want to save time for your discussion and everything.
Oh, I appreciate you keeping it tight, Crystal. It looks like you got a question from Sarah Ellis in the chat. Sarah, I don't know if you want to jump on and just ask it, or I can certainly reiterate.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering what that's built using. Is it a custom scripted application, the actual library piece, or is it something that's configurable that was used?
The data catalog that I was just showing? Yeah,
Yes.
so that is built off of a product called Oracle Apex. So we use an
Okay.
Oracle database for a lot of these decision support tools and projects. And Oracle Apex is just like a quick, low code software that lets you look into your database and then build applications. So, but all the catalog is built on, database tables and schemas that keep track of where all the data is coming from and all that. So.
Right. So the metadata is being pulled directly from the data set.
Yes and no. We end up storing a lot of, like on our data entry, we end up having people enter in some very key points about the data, and that gets stored in the database. The metadata is kind of on the back end and a little bit separated.
Okay.
It would be ideal if the metadata were in the database, but it's not quite there yet. But we have all sort of the key points in the metadata in the database.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to chat offline too, just about that whole system. So
Okay.
anytime.
Yeah, I believe the county actually has Apex.
Okay.
But I think they're deprecating several of the solutions that were built off of that. I don't know if it's something we're keeping, but I'd just be interested to see how the metadata is stored and how you're calling that and all of that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Awesome. And I see Dave has written in about the CCAP data for the region. That was something I didn't have time to show. On the map viewer, if you go to the browse and go to special topics, we've got the CCAP data in there. We've got the historic CCAP data. So like 2006 to 2010, 2016, all of that stuff is built within the map viewer. So,
Historic,
awesome.
can you drop a direct link to that?
Yes,
Okay,
totally.
great. Yeah, are there any other questions for Crystal or Kate?
Hey, Ashley, can you hear me?
Yeah, hey Dave, how are you?
Oh, hey. Hi, everybody. My name's Dave Stein. I'm the geospatial coordinator for the Gulf of Mexico. I work for NOAA's Office for Coastal Management, and I'm usually based out of St. Pete, but I was flooded out during Helene, and I'm over on the East Coast now, relocated to Jensen Beach. So um, just wanted to mention that we do have more up-to-date CCAP for the Tampa Bay region and all of Florida. We have data at 1 meter that we released back in 2022, 3-class products. So we have water, tree canopy, and impervious surface for the entire state. And we also worked on a pilot project in the Tampa Bay region, a 5-county region area, where we have full class CCAP. So I can send that link to you all, Crystal, and the group, so you have access to it. And we're working on updating, or I would say upgrading, the 3-class product to full class product around Apalachicola Bay, that whole watershed region, and also in Northeast Florida around the GTM reserve. That's coming down the pike. We just awarded a couple of task orders for that. So that'll be done hopefully within the next year or so.
Hey Dave, this is Kim. I just want to share that the boundaries for the new projects in Appalach and GTM in the northeast corner of the state, those footprints are in the statewide geospatial open data portal, as is the 3 layers of the CCAP. So I'm going to pop that in the call here in just a moment. Thanks.
Yeah, and Ashley, I'm happy to do a deeper dive on this at one of the upcoming meetings. Just let me know.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength, Dave. Like I was just thinking that would be a good thing to present to this group, I think.
Yeah.
So,
That data is really cool.
all right, awesome. Any more questions for GeoPlan Center? Okay, let's see if I can successfully reshare. You all seen my edited version?
Yep.
Of course. Let me try that one more time. How about now? Is that better?
Yep, that's good.
All right, thank you. And thanks again, Crystal and Kate. I appreciate you all being here. Okay, so now I'd like to dive into just a greater discussion on why this group should exist, who can it benefit, and I kind of have a couple ideas of how to drive the discussion. Maybe for those of you that might be multitasking or not feeling getting on the mic today, or just everybody really, if you wouldn't mind hopping on that survey. There's just a few questions that mimic the bullets in this slide. And even if you end up talking, I'd like to capture all of the results from the group so we can kind of see if there's a lot of common threads, and maybe we can help prioritize what this group can do from your answers to that survey. But I think one of the things that I was hoping to get to first is maybe looking at some regional data gaps, or just even maybe a data gap you're seeing in your community that you think that this group might know about. And I personally can start because this one's been sticking in my craw for a while. and I don't know if there's an answer to this, is I was wondering if anybody knows about a regional data set or a statewide data set that shows all the mobile homes. I know some of the counties have good data on this. And GeoPlan Center, I think, Crystal, if I'm correct, you all use the quarterly updates from the Department of Health, and they represent the mobile home parks. But I'm looking to find the individual mobile home buildings. And Microsoft Buildings doesn't quite cover everything in our region. So I've been trying to look at OpenStreetMap, which is very spotty in a lot of our less populated areas. So that's mine, and I don't need an answer now. I just wanted to throw that out there if anybody knows.
Ashley, I have information on that I can go with you over the meeting. There's a
Okay.
lot of stuff in the property appraiser data set. And there's a couple different ways of pulling that out.
Okay, great. That's awesome.
Hey, Ashley, Sarah Sellers at Hillsborough County. We use a data set from the National Homeland Security. They have a footprint. I don't actually, it's not a footprint, it's just a point data set. And then we have our layer for Hillsborough County that we walked the aerials and digitized ourselves. And we also use the property appraiser data as a supplement. So
Okay,
we
great.
can share that with you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any regional data gaps? Because there's a lot of folks on this call that, you know, might be able to answer the question. So I think it would be a good time to raise any concerns, especially maybe around recovery efforts that people are working on right now. I know that some of you all have been talking about this. Oh,
Oh, I
some
see
hands.
I see Jared raised his hand. This is Renee from Pinellas County Emergency Management. We've definitely been discussing a lot of GIS needs for recovery. And one of the things that just recently came out was the need for rainfall data. I think that kind of came up in relation to some of the hindcasting work that you're doing related to the surge that we saw this past year. But we have a data working group in Pinellas County that supports each one of our recovery support functions. And so we're going to be meeting every couple weeks to kind of go over data, GIS, application needs as far as the county's recovery is concerned. So I don't know what kind of is the best way to tie those efforts into this group. One of the things we are going to do is create a ArcGIS online hub site for hosting the data and documents and kind of a share site to keep our group coordinated and make the information that we develop or come across available to the wider group. So that's definitely a mechanism that we can use to kind of link these two efforts together. But I'm open to, you know, making it as open as possible. And Jared, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
No, mine was unrelated to
Oh.
emergency management. So
Okay.
Yeah, Jared, did you want, Renee, thanks for your comments. And yeah, I want to stay connected. I'm not totally sure how to, you know, make the groups intertwine, but I'm just going to keep attending your guys' meetings and see where those connections arise for now. And hopefully we'll figure it out organically over time. Jared, did you want to go ahead with your question? And then Marcus, I see you're next.
sure. I don't have anything. Sorry, mine. I know I put my hand up when you were talking about the storm related stuff. Mine is not storm related, but in terms of regional data gaps, I'll actually throw this in the chat. This is something that we had developed that I think I would like to see. Maybe we could brainstorm in the future on either a regional version of this or even a statewide version, and that is tracking projects that come through Florida's Live Local Act. This has had a substantial impact, obviously, on industrial and commercial lands. It ties to broader state initiatives around affordable housing. And obviously it's been, it's received mixed reviews in terms of, its effectiveness, its controversies, all that. There's no real good GIS data set out there tracking these projects, how many units are actually getting built within various affordability ranges, and the size of the projects, all these sorts of things that I think would be really beneficial from a statewide perspective, definitely regionally. Obviously, we're tracking the ones that come on in Pinellas County, but I just think there needs to be more of this, given it's a statewide preemption. And then, I know GeoPlan's on here, and they're kind of, major data arbiter for the state, and also, they're connected to Schimberg too, both at UF. So I think this is something that would benefit a number of different entities throughout the state. So hoping, just throwing that out there, and happy to brainstorm on that in the future as well.
Jared, real quick, you definitely Schimberg. I think if I could do a little email introduction to at least discuss that, because I was thinking Schimberg as well. They've got a pretty robust GIS program there, and they would be a great statewide lead to help coordinate that. So happy to help facilitate a connection there.
That would be great. Thank you.
Marcus?
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Marcus Beck with the Tampa Bay Estuary Program. Most of my interests with the GIS relate to environmental data sets, but obviously we work with a lot of public utilities. We work a lot with the Regional Planning Council. So how what happens to the land interfaces with the water is very important to us. And related to a specific regional and I guess statewide need for that matter, in terms of a data set that is something that is often brought up and would be useful to have in a consolidated format, is one that relates to sanitary sewer overflows. I know that Florida DEP tracks that information. They do make it publicly available. It is in an Excel spreadsheet, which is fine. But the descriptions are narrative in nature, and it would be really good to have that in a more tidy format, in a geospatial format that really sort of describes where it happened, estimated volume, what was done about it, all that sort of stuff, because this is just an issue that's constantly come up for us at a regional level of where is the useful data for SSOs, how to track that over time. And I just wanted to put that in as a plug for kind of a data need that I think would probably be useful for not just us, but maybe others on the call.
Thank you, Marcus. I made note of that. And if you have a chance, dropping it in the survey will be helpful to me, so don't forget. Allison Bednar, I see you there.
Hi, everyone. I work with USF and we're working on the Hillsborough County Vulnerability Assessment update. And this is more specific to anyone else that's been working on a vulnerability assessment. One of the asset types that FDP is requiring is wastewater treatment facilities and lift stations. And a separate one is stormwater treatment facilities and pump stations. And in the GIS data that I've been coming across, the lift and pump stations don't really have a distinction. They're kind of interchangeably used. And I know that like specific definitions, what FDP defines them as, are separate. So I was just wondering if anyone else that has worked on a VA has noticed this, or how they approached meeting this asset category when the terms are pretty interchangeably used.
Allison, for me at least, I had the same issue. It's kind of interesting how they're aggregated together. I guess I was fortunate in a way that the counties that provided me with data were able to help me make that distinction. I think that I don't want to call anybody out, but I think that there's some folks from Manatee County on the call that, oh, Renee's got her hand up. Renee, is this related?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I have talked to a lot more than I like to admit, wastewater folks, engineers, about the difference between a waste or a lift station and a pump station. And um, basically what I was told is if you're kind of, unless you're an engineer doing some kind of maintenance on that actual piece of infrastructure, the difference is pretty small as far as managing the data wise. Um, and I know that Pinellas County is working on a kind of municipal data sharing effort as far as utility data goes. Some of that information is a little sensitive as far as pump stations, the location, maybe not so much, but some of those systems are in SCADA, which kind of bleeds over into some of the privacy concerns that a jurisdiction might have. So we do maintain pump stations in the county, pump lift, whatever you want to call them. And we're working towards better coordination with our cities as far as a master file for the county. I know that doesn't really speak to Tampa Bay as a region, but it's a resource that we have and will be building out in the next, that's on the 2025 list.
Perfect. Yeah, I've been in contact with I work with Troy Salisbury in the sustainability coordinator with Hillsborough County. So all of my communications have been like through him. So I'm finally getting some emails back, but that's good to hear that Pinellas is working, that's something in the future that will be updated. And Ryan, I see your note in the chat and I would love to chat after the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks, Allison and Ryan. That's really cool to see these connections are already happening in the first meeting. Did anybody else want to expand on the first bullet, those regional data gaps? If not, I'll move on to the second one, maybe brainstorm some ideas on what you all want to get out of this group. And please, if you don't mind raising your hand, that helps me because I only see a few squares and then you rise to the top when your hand goes up. Oh, I see Renee again.
I'm just so excited.
I'm glad you're excited. Thank you.
I feel like I'm with my people. One of the biggest gaps that we have as far as recovery is concerned, and I think this contributes to even, year-round blue sky needs as well, is habitability. So how many homes and or families have been displaced from the storms? And so it's a question that comes up a lot from high up, and it's not something that we have a really great handle on. We've got FEMA assistance claims data. We've got damage assessment data. It has not been as easy to mine from the damage assessment, multiple types of damage assessment data sets that we have. I know that you guys do a lot of kind of planning and predictive work on that topic, but actually, following a storm, what are our housing needs, unmet needs, as far as how many people cannot go back to their home, how many structures are completely destroyed and will need to either be rebuilt, how many people are leaving the county or the region permanently. Is another question that's going to come up already and going to continue to come up. What is that kind of, are we going to see an exodus from the county following these storms? And, how does that tie into the housing needs that we have?
I am so glad that you're here. I feel like you're ready to jump in on this topic. Lauren, did you want to add something to what Renee said?
Sure. Just because, hi, I'm Lauren. I'm with the Florida Housing Coalition. Those of you who work at the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council might know my colleague, CJ Reynolds, because she used to be your colleague. So I am on the Florida Housing Coalition's Disaster Recovery and Resilience team. And since last year, we have been working with a group called Texas Appleseed. They are a nonprofit advocacy organization based in Texas, but we met them through the National Low Income Housing Coalition's Disaster Recovery Working Group. And so for the last several months, we've been working on this GIS project that will be launching in January. And basically what it is, and I hope it could maybe be helpful to, professionals like Renee or other people who are involved in the housing sphere. So basically, it's a visualization of Open FEMA's individual assistance application data for Florida counties for the 3 storms in this most recent hurricane season. So Debbie, Helene, and Milton. And so what it visualizes is the number of applications and the aggregate data tied to those applications. So it's not personally identifiable information, but it's aggregate data about where people are applying, how much damage there is to their homes, their incomes, renter or owner status, household, like the age of the household head, things like that, just important demographic information. It's aggregate data, so there are limitations to how much it can be useful, but it is out way faster than the personally identifiable information. You don't need an information sharing access agreement to access it. So we are currently finishing up that project. It'll be launched in January, and I'm really looking forward to being able to share it with everybody. If you guys are interested in seeing it, just let me know, because I think it's going to be pretty helpful. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren, for jumping in on that one. Shannon, I see you have your hand up. Hi, thanks for coming.
Hey. So I just wanted to mention as far as data gaps, during one of the 3 hurricanes that we had, one of the data requests that came into the GIS unit was for fire hydrants on the island of Longboat Key. Now, half of that island falls in Manatee County. However, we had a data gap there, and although we were able to point them to open data for our fire hydrants, I think that fire hydrants is probably one of those things, especially on barrier islands, whenever it comes to the subject of surge, that they need to be able to establish where these fire hydrants are so that whenever they go to clear sand, they're not destroying the infrastructure. So just a mention.
Okay, I got that one down. I don't know if anybody on the call can jump in on that, or is that something that just needs to be created from whole cloth? It's kind of a unique geography, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if maybe we have like a regional, because I was just talking with a colleague of mine, if there's a place that we can data dump regionally and just, everybody in the region data dumps so that we're able to share, and especially whenever that we have first responders coming from or state assets coming from other counties and other municipalities that are not familiar with the area, we need to be able to give this data to them. So just a thought.
Gotcha. Okay, I made note of that, but I don't have an answer right now, Shannon, but it's an interesting problem. Okay, so in the interest of time, I kind of want to get to some of these next points. If anybody wants to hop in on the 2nd or 3rd bullet, feel free. I want to get to, it sounds like we're getting to what you all want to get out of this group. And if you want to also add anything about any GIS projects that you're working on that you think might benefit the entire region, or it could be something locally that you think could be transferable, that would be great, because we've got about 5 minutes left in this part of the discussion. Or we can end early.
I have a couple of things. I was trying to raise my hand, but I couldn't.
Oh, okay.
The hand button last.
Hey, Sarah, how are you?
Yeah, good. So we talked about this at the GeoFlow Summit. We're gonna update our evacuation zones for next year, and there's definitely a need for like regional coordination and kind of setting the criteria and standards, and also considering things like the traffic and roadways that are going to be impacted. Obviously Pinellas and Hillsborough. If everyone in Pinellas evacuates and comes through Hillsborough or goes north to Pasco, same for Manatee. You know, we can't think of just our county. We got to think about the total impacts. So I would like to work on some documentation that we can all consider when we're developing our evacuation zones. So that's one thing. And then when Shannon was talking, it kind of reminded me of, it's not related to hydrants, but we did an analysis to find out where air operations could potentially land if any of their landing pads get inundated and they have to find other locations to land in an emergency. I think that was a big issue during Adalia down south. And so we've done that within our county, but I think, you know, across county, that's probably something we all need to share with each other. So.
Yeah, Sarah, the evacuation zone stuff, thank you for reminding me, because I forgot to mention in the call that, and I talked about this with Joe and Renee at Pinellas the other day, but the evacuation study, the regional evacuation study it's gonna take us through the 2025 season. And the new one is set for 2026. So I'm looking at least at the surge, like in terms of hindcast, and that's looking pretty good. But yeah, the evacuation component is concerning me since the last study started in 2020. And, you know, everybody moved to Florida right after the study was completed. So yeah, I also want to stay in touch with Andrew Sussman at FDEM and make sure that we can meet the region's needs. You know, you outlined the problem very well. It's like, you know, Pinellas, it doesn't exist in isolation. You know, everybody has to go somewhere. So yeah, I will definitely stay in touch with Drew about that and keep, you know, all of the member governments informed. And I made a note of your air operations landing thought. Sarah Vitale, I see you on there. Hey, Sarah.
Hi, do you still want me to touch on the RIC?
Yeah, I think it's a good time because we're at kind of the wind down period.
All right, perfect. So thanks everyone for being here for the kickoff. I'm really excited about the group. It's important to get us all on the same page and find out ways that we can support each other. So the Regional Information Center, the RIC for short, has been a big focus for the TBRPC this year. We want to improve our communications about what it is that we do and help to be more effective in sharing our resources that we collect from all the different governments that we work with. So when it comes to data and spatial tools, we have a GeoHub on our website, but we're rolling out a new Regional Information Center, RIC for short, using the platform Notion. And I'll share a link to it in just a sec when I can find that. But we have I guess a beta, like testing version of Notion now to share resources around hurricane recovery. But I just wanted to let everyone know that that's a resource in development. So stay tuned for more updates. We envision that to be like a one-stop shop. I heard someone say like a data dump, regional data dump for resource sharing and data across our governments and partners. So we'll likely ask you all to test it probably during the next time we meet in this format. So you know, this Notion tool might actually grow into a standalone website, but for now we're just getting it off the ground, testing it with Notion. So wanted to get that on your radar. And again, thank you guys for the collaboration. I want to especially thank Ashley for her work and leadership in getting this off the ground. So really excited.
Thanks, Sarah. I kind of lost track of the chat when we were in our discussion. So let me just quickly look at this, or if anybody wants to jump in. Kim, did you want to say something about the pollution? Or am I a little, oh, I'm a little behind,
Hey.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Ashley. Hi, this is Kim Jackson from the State Geographic Information Office. Before I talk about that, I do not want to be a wet blanket and I don't want to be a downer here. I just want to throw up a thought as everyone's talking. I'm so happy that Ashley took the initiative and put this together, and I would love to see more of these groups all around the state. And the only one thought that I had to share, let's just make really sure that we keep coordinating and we keep cross-referencing and linking each other. Emergency management has come so far in the geospatial sphere in the last 10-20 years. I'm actually at DEM right now attending another meeting. I'm sorry I can't share them on my phone. I just never ever want to see a scenario where we've seen in other states and other situations where people aren't sure where to go for authoritative data, right? We need to make sure that there is one authoritative source for the data, and it can be shared in as many different outlets as possible. We host the Florida Geographic Information Coordination calls daily during activations in coordination with DEM. And people have said, why don't you expand the statewide library to include, and immediately I have to shake my head and say, we need to make sure that the Division of Emergency Management is the authoritative data source for response data. Now, is there a long way to go with that? Yes. And is there local resources that need to be shared more effectively? Oh, yes. Is there a great deal of growth and need in this area? Absolutely. I just want to make sure that there's never a time that a sheriff's office or a critical responder is not sure where to go for authoritative, dynamic, updated data, and that there's somebody to call that's going to answer the phone that's the data stored, because there's life and limb involved in all of this, right? It's one thing to look at after action stuff and find good references, but when we're in the thick of it, I just want to make sure that all these data portals and all these references also always have a link to DEM, because there's always going to be somebody there 24/7 to answer the phone and clarify any questions. So super excited. There's definitely a need for this. I'm really excited to learn more about the RIC, and I want to cross-reference that on my hub site. But I just want to make sure that we don't ever get in the position where responders are thinking, well, should I go here and is this data the same as that? And which one's better? And who can I call? Like, I just really hope that we can all continue to really be transparent and work together so that we have that authoritative flavor and governance over the data. So thank you for letting me stand on my soapbox about that. And I just wanted to mention that, yeah, the PNP, the public notice of pollution that comes out of DEP, is a fantastic data source. It's originally a crowdsourced data that's QA'd. And then the statewide, the sanitary sewer overflow is a different subset that's just specific to wastewater. So thank you guys so much. I'm really excited. And Ashley, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm going to dump in a link to the GIO email distribution list and a link to the FGIO coordination page. If anybody wants to go back and look at some of the resources that we shared out from this past storm season. Thanks.
Yeah, Kim, thanks for getting on your soapbox, and just to hopefully calm any concerns you might have, is that I think the spirit of the RIC is more like a way of aggregating those authoritative resources rather than duplicating them or creating confusion. But we'll definitely keep you in the loop so we can avoid any confusion amongst our regional partners. I see we're at 11 o'clock, so I just want to jump to the next steps. I'm going to send future meeting occurrences to you all. I want to compile results from the survey, and if you all can fill that out, I'll leave it open for a few more days if you want to do it later. And I'm going to seek out next presenter. It seems like we had a couple good ideas in this meeting. Maybe Dave from NOAA can show us that CCAP data, and then also maybe a future one, we should have the FDEM GIS folks present alongside Kim, so everybody knows about those authoritative resources. And also, I just wanted to mention, I'm really excited. I'm working with NOAA on hosting this coastal inundation mapping course at TBRPC's offices. So I'll keep you all in the loop on that. It's a go for 2025, and I'm hoping that we can set a date prior to the start of hurricane season. So I'll keep you abreast of that. And I wanted to thank everybody for joining, and hopefully we'll see you very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you,
This was
Ashley.
great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley.
Bye.